has a place right across town whenever you're ready. Well, people gather round whenever they're ready, and then the music begins to play. Feel the blues coming on its way. Are you ready? Are you ready? You get yours, 'cause I got mine. Oh, for the monkey time.
It is Thursday, October 29th. We are live in studio. We have LOY HARDCASTLE and Tom Lawrence. This is the Real Estate Roundtable. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Lloyd.
You forgot to say, so apparently it's changed. What
Uh-oh.
did you forget to say?
It's my favorite day of the
That's
week.
it. So all of a sudden, we're not his favorite.
I thought you were going to get him to say 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I was working. That's a joke. Not everybody's going to pick up on that one. But anyway, beautiful, rainy, drizzly, dark morning. But it's still great to be up.
Oh, you know, we are here. It's going to be a busy day.
It will
And
be.
there's so many people that follow this program, and you can't see it live. Maybe one of these days.
Maybe we need a ditto cam.
Well, that's true. If it's good enough for Rush, it'd be good enough for
There
the
you go.
hometown.
There you go. And it's the last day to early vote.
Yep.
So if you're thinking about that, and I read an article in the paper this morning, and I'm not concerned about this at all, but a lot of people were saying that they've early voted because they fear violence on voting day. Now, I don't know, that was a generic article in the Tennessean, so it could have been written by somebody in Miami. I mean, I don't know
Not
where it was
around
from.
here.
But I don't
No.
fear that at all. The thing that I fear is a long line, but that's okay. I mean, I'm gonna do it. I always vote on election day.
When you put 6 feet between people, the line's going to
stretches
get
out.
longer.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. But anyway, and I have a question about that before we move on. Do we vote where we have been voting? I've been voting at the Robert Ring Center, for example. Now, will I go back there election day? Or do we know?
Thanks to Williamson County, and Williamson County is the only county I know that does this, you can go to anywhere in that county and vote,
Okay.
as long as it's a countywide
Right,
election.
right, got it. Well, what about, I wonder if the Ring Center will be open. I would assume it is. I don't
You
know.
know.
I gotta really find out, because I don't wanna go at 7 in the morning and it not be open. So I'll find out.
Great places to vote include the
Rec Center,
Life Enrichment Center.
right, that's what I
And
know.
that would probably be the closest one to you.
It would, but,
So,
you know, I might go there, but Robert Ring is,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a traditional, you know, I've done it forever that way. I'm gonna keep doing it that way, so.
I'm the same way. I voted early in Spring Hill on Tuesday. And I've never voted early before. I've always voted on election day, primarily because I wanted. This is a unique year for me. I'm going to vote against somebody. I've
Okay.
never voted against somebody in my life.
Be careful.
Yeah. So I said, well, what if I keel over between now and election day? Yeah. You need to go vote today.
Yeah, well,
And so,
hey, we can still be friends.
oh, there's
but
there's not a,
It's
there's
possible that my
not
vote
just
might
one
cancel
person.
yours.
No, maybe not.
Maybe not. But anyway, whatever you do, vote. And if
Yeah.
you can't go on election
Whoever
day,
you're gonna
if
vote
you're
for,
concerned, that's
vote.
right. Just go vote, that's right.
Yeah.
And apparently, a lot of people are doing that.
No.
So, and I don't know that there have been any polling, hasn't been any polling going on after people coming out. Whether people who do that sort of thing can tell how people are voting, and I don't really want to know, to tell you the truth.
No.
I just soon wait until election night, and maybe we will, maybe we won't find out. You know what's happened.
We tried that several years ago. Exit polling, they call
Right,
it.
right.
And you know who won?
No,
None of your business.
makes sense. That's probably the best answer. That's probably an answer that you get around here.
No.
Think about it. All right. Well, anyway, last day to early vote. But for Pete's sakes, if you don't get it in today, go vote next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Find out where you're supposed to be and go vote. How about birthdays? Do we have any birthdays this morning yet?
Of course, we've got several birthdays this morning.
Okay.
Happy birthday to Nathaniel Nevins. Chrissy Sprawling, happy birthday. Georgie Gaines has a birthday today. Kason Connors is 16 today. Vicky Mashburn, happy birthday to you. And then rounding out our birthday club so far today, happy birthday to Katie Lillard.
What did you do on your 16th birthday? I can just about tell you.
Work.
You were going.
Because it was in June, you
Mhm.
know, and so I'd be working in the summer. But
You didn't
other
go
than
get
that,
your driver's license?
Nah. And I'll tell you why. I'd had them since I was 14. You know, we could get permits
That's
back
right.
in those days.
Mhm.
And again, back in those days, Franklin was so different. All the police knew you, me, you know, they knew who everybody was. Both the highway patrol, county, and all that stuff. So even though that permit allowed you supposedly to drive to school, drive to the grocery, and I believe drive to church. I think those
Yeah.
were the three restrictions. Well, you know me, I was driving all over the place. So at any rate, and the police knew that, so when it came around the day, I probably waited a month or two to go get my official driver's license, only because it wasn't anything new.
It wasn't going to
So-
be in effect.
But ordinarily, you're right, I would have been standing there first thing in the morning. But being in Franklin in those days, yeah, as you know, it was just totally different, and it was just different.
Yeah.
It was not necessarily accepted, but it was just, you know, people would sort of let it go by and all that sort of stuff. I have a couple of birthdays, and I admit I did not remember exactly this woman. 1891, Fanny Bryce was born on this day, and I had to look her up, but she was an actress and a singer. I wondered why I had heard that name, and it turns out that there was a film about her life, and it was called Funny Girl.
Yeah.
And Barbara Streisand portrayed Fanny Bryce in that movie. But I didn't remember that. But when I saw that Barbara Streisand, I remembered it because I'd seen the movie. On this day in 1947, a great actor, Richard Dreyfuss,
Yeah.
and he has played so many interesting roles and has been outstanding in all of it. Of course, one of his big roles was Jaws.
Yeah.
You know, he was
The original.
the original Jaws, that's right. Pretty Lady, 1948, Kate Jackson. I think she was one of Charlie's Angels,
Sure.
the original Charlie's Angels. And then another Jackson was born on this day in 1961, and that's Randy Jackson of the Jackson 5. And I think he's still around.
I believe there's only one, no, there are two of them gone.
Okay.
The baby, of course, is gone.
Michael, right.
And the oldest one is gone.
Well, not Jermaine, it's not Jermaine.
Not Jermaine,
Anyway,
but
that's good. Well,
it was the tall one.
okay, all right. Another interesting actress who's had some oddball roles in her time, Winona Ryder,
Yeah.
was born on this day in 1971. Now, I should have known this fact, date in history. 1682, William Penn landed in Chester, Pennsylvania. I didn't realize that Pennsylvania was named after that guy. But he was the founder of Pennsylvania, William Penn. It makes sense. P-E-N-N.
He was a Quaker, wasn't he?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many were back in those days. And on this day in 1929, we don't like to talk about it much, was the crash of Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
The Great Depression started on this day in 1929, hopefully to never be experience that kind of thing again. This is interesting, I thought it was. In 1945, it hadn't been that long ago, the first ballpoint pen.
Really? Yeah.
Now think about that. We use them all the time, and you know, in school, big pens, ballpoint were 19 cents a piece or so, and you know, they were throwaway.
Yeah.
But they first were started, the sales first started of ballpoint pens in Gimbel's in New York on this day in 1945. Do you know how much they were?
I'm going to say a penny.
$12.50.
What?
Yes.
What?
Can you imagine? Now that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you take a 1945 $12.50, that would be what, probably $150 maybe today,
Oh.
or more.
Yeah.
$12.50 for a ballpoint pen, not fountain pen now, but ballpoint. Anyway, Huntley Brinkley report. You remember those
Chet
guys?
Huntley and David Brinkley.
That's right. Started their journey on television on this day in 1956. Of course, it was black and white TV, and I remember them quite well. They said goodnight to each other.
Yeah.
And they were in different locations at times, or were they always
Brinkley in New York and Huntley in Washington.
Washington, that's exactly right.
Where did David Brinkley, where did he have his first news reporting job?
Now, Tom, you know I don't know that. You must.
He was a student at Vanderbilt, if that
really?
tells you anything.
I didn't know that.
WLAC Radio in Nashville
Is
was
that right?
David Brinkley's first reporting
There
job.
you go. Well, that's a piece of trivia not many people would know, but I won't forget that one. Interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that. Another little deal today. John Glenn, of course, we remember, was the first astronaut, I think, to circle the Earth, and I think he went 3 or 4 orbits around. But on this day in 1998, he was back in space on the space shuttle.
And he was an old man.
He was
wasn't
77. Careful. He was 77 years old, and he went up in space on this day in 1998. And then a couple of other things. One of the best guitarists that played the guitar on this day in 1971, Dwayne Allman, was killed in a motorcycle accident in Macon, Georgia. And of course, he's buried in Macon, as is his brother Greg. They're buried side by side there in a cemetery in Macon, Georgia.
You met both of those guys, didn't you?
Yeah, worked with them.
Wow.
Yeah, worked with them. And heavyweights. They were
Yeah.
heavyweights when we were really lightweights, let me tell you. But we knew they had extraordinary talent just working with them. And then a few little tidbits here. The Byrds, which was a group back in the 60s and 70s. Laverne Baker, singer, great singer. John Lee Hooker.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The Impressions, another great group. Wilson Pickett, and Ike and Tina Turner were all inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on this day in 1990.
You ever been to Cleveland to see them?
I haven't, but you know, I know so many of them that
Yeah.
I ought to go, because I'm sure it would be pretty inspirational to see all those folks. A lot of those people you don't think about anymore. You don't necessarily hear their music much anymore, but it's a lot of it's still around.
Only reason to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I saw a documentary last night on the Supremes, and the documentary was saying that the Supremes that group was the best or most selling female group in history, were the Supremes.
Is there a Soul Hall of Fame in Detroit?
I don't know, that would make sense. So something related to Motown, or maybe
they-
Barry Gordy's Hitsville,
Yeah.
USA group. But there should be, if they're in there, should be. But anyway, a great group. The Supremes came on the scene and had hit after hit after hit. So at any rate, just a little rock and roll trivia there. Couple things. I see you've got the Herald this morning, and it's going into detail about candidates, which is important. If you don't know these candidates, and I hate to say it, but I really don't. I know some of them, but some of them I don't. But the only way to really maybe get some information is try to read it in the paper. And there's a pretty good spread on that in the paper this morning.
About a particular legislative district, and there are 3 candidates. They're Republican, the incumbent, Glenn Cassida, the two challengers, one a Democrat, Elizabeth Madeira, and Brad Fiskus, an independent. And I would have to think that would probably favor the incumbent, because they're 2 people. He's got 2 opponents.
Right, sort of splitting that vote.
Yeah.
Speaking of voting and things like that, there was an article in there too about a protest that was on the square, and I'm not going to stay on this very long here, but a protest on the square, I think this past Saturday, and they said there were like 250 people there to protest the wearing of masks and their rights as citizens and so forth. My question is, I wonder if that gathering either had a permit, or if that's the type of thing that's required to have a permit. My feeling is that is required to have a permit, but it said nothing in the article that they had a permit or they didn't have a permit.
I understand they did have a permit.
Okay, because, you know, something like that could be spontaneous, obviously.
Yeah.
And the city offices aren't always open, you know, on a Saturday morning when you need to go out and all of a sudden a crowd starts to gather. But that's going to be a hard thing to enforce, I think. Maybe
will
as the
be,
thing goes
and
on. Been a lot of controversy even about that particular
And it hasn't been to court yet,
law.
so.
Well, we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
And I realize what it was for, but you know, maybe the reason will die down a little bit. It's hard to say. But at any rate, I'm glad to see people out expressing their feelings, even if it is, in this case, concerning a mask. And I wear a mask sometimes, and sometimes I don't, but I probably should wear it more than I do. But I do wear it out, and when I'm going into stores and things like that, I try to respect the sign. But I was in the grocery this week, one of the local grocery stores, and I saw two ladies that didn't have their masks on, and of course, you know, they look a little odd now because everybody else does. Instead of just the reverse, where they might have one on and nobody else does. But it looks a little unusual when you see somebody out now in a place like that.
I can't recognize
Without a mask.
people when they have their mask on.
Me either. And you know, you don't have to smile all the time with a mask.
That's
You
right.
can frown, if you feel bad.
You
know.
can stick your tongue out at
That's
people.
right. And I noticed too, there were some pictures in the paper this morning of people doing various things, and they all have on masks.
Yeah.
I'll bet you every one of them are smiling just because they're supposed to. You know, when the camera comes up, you just, you know, you tend to smile. But so I wonder if they're smiling or sticking their tongue out or what. But you'll never know. But you're right, I do have a hard time with that. And it's okay to say, now, wait a minute, who are you? I mean,
Yeah.
I just, you know, I just don't mind saying that now because
Well,
I really don't. I can't recognize them.
I passed by a longtime friend of mine just a few days ago, and his wife had to grab me and say, "That's Paul."
I'll be darned.
And
Well.
Paul Pratt took his mask
Yeah.
off and said, "Yeah, I know,
Yeah, you should.
I'm sorry."
Well, you know, that's just the way it goes. All right, well, anyway, lots of things going on. Don't forget Halloween this Saturday. Some people are participating and some aren't. And for those that are, way to go. And for those that aren't, please don't soap their windows or, you know, break something in the yard, and just, you know, respect their decision and then go to the next place. You know, there's probably plenty of candy out there.
There are probably some young people right now saying to themselves, "What does he mean, soap? Don't soap the windows."
Oh, I know it. That's, you know, that's an old man thing, isn't it? Well, should we tell them? Years ago when we were growing up, it was innocent, but it was kind of aggravating to get it off. If you went to somebody's house and they didn't, now I never did this, of course. Went to somebody's house and they didn't come to the door or whatever, you had a bar of soap and you know, scratch it on their window. It didn't hurt anything, but it just, you know, it marked the window up. But and then there were a lot of other things that happened too back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
With a lot of mischievous things going on around Franklin.
As valuable as toilet paper is now, can you imagine?
I know it. I know it. No,
Rolling a
better
house.
not do that. If you do, you better go get it and, you know, keep it.
Yeah,
Get
put
out.
it back on the roll.
I know. Anyway, real estate, I don't want to sound like a broken record, even though I do. Inventory is low. I checked it this morning, 551 houses on the market in Williamson County. And again, you know, when you consistently sell 500 or 600 houses a month, you go, well, where are they coming from? And the answer is, I don't know. And there's an article in the paper about a couple of developments that are trying to get started, and you'll have delays for those. And even if they started today, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before you can buy a house in there. So the demand and the supply is critical. The demand is high, the supply is low. And even new construction, you just can't build houses fast enough around here for the demand. And then of course you add all of the Mother Nature things that happen with hurricanes and tornadoes and so forth that take lumber to rebuild. After those things happen, the cost goes up. Of course, the availability of materials is low right now, and the cost continues to rise just because, again, people need lumber to rebuild destroyed properties. So, and that's just counting nature things. That doesn't count human things like riots and crazy things like that. So, a lot of things happening in the real estate supply and demand world right now, and I don't see any relief in sight right now, and I don't know that you do either, Tom, but things are just, they're a little bit difficult, but still busy, shall we say, still busy. Mortgage rates are obviously at an all-time low, so even if you're not thinking about buying or selling, you might want to refinance. And if you have a loan at 4%, which sounds high today, of course it was low, a few years ago, at 2 or 2.5, that's a big difference on a monthly payment. So you need to check into maybe doing some refinance, and there's plenty of information online to help you determine the difference in your payment.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea of whether you can save $100 or $500 or $1,000 a month, but it can be pretty darn significant. I'll tell you that right now. And 2.5%, which is kind of the going rate right now for a 30-year fixed, is almost free money.
When should you start saving? Let's talk to a 18-year-old out there right now.
Yeah.
When should you start saving up your down payment?
Well, the answer is immediately, and that's hard to do. I mean, 18, you were 18 once, that was a long time ago. I was 18 once, and you didn't think anything about saving money and buying stuff. The good thing for young buyers, and this is important, this is why you need a good mortgage person to help you, you don't necessarily need to have a big down payment anymore, because there are so many programs that are available for young people, and one of them is called, obviously, first-time home buyers. And there are all sorts of even zero down payment loans out there that are available at these low rates. Government-assisted loans, FHA loans, all sort of VA loans if you're a veteran, all sorts of things are available to you, but you need to make sure you have a good mortgage person that knows all of these options. And so yes, saving for down payment is great, and you should do it anyway. Even if you're not thinking about buying a house, you just should start saving money. But if you get into that situation and you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you say, I'm ready to buy a house or a condo or something, then check with a good consultant, because you can, there are a lot of programs that are available to you. Now, we obviously at Parks, we have one of the best that I've ever seen that would be delighted to talk to you. So if you just want to talk to somebody on the phone, you don't even have to come in. Give us a call and we'll put you in touch with this lady and let you see where you need to go from there.
In fact, she's in-house, isn't she?
Yes, she's in-house, and I've been doing this a long, long time, probably 50+ years. So she's quite good at what she does, very knowledgeable, and so that's just one option. There are options, good banks around town, good mortgage companies. So, but get on the ball and get on that while the money is cheap.
There's an article on the front page of this morning's Williamson Herald about Bulma's deferring a vote on a couple of areas, and they're both in the area where the Mancatcher Parkway is now being constructed.
Right.
Anywhere inside the city of Franklin, or anywhere close to the city of Franklin, that's vacant, that is pastoral, that is green space.
Right.
It's not going to stay that way, is it?
It doesn't look like it. If you can get into a place as revered, shall we say, as Brownland Farms, beautiful spot, Gentry Farms, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, all of a sudden, the landscape changes, and here are houses. And even Ann Inman's property over on Boyd Mill, there's a proposal there to put in, I think, 15 large homes over there. It's going to change, and that's just the way it is. And I'm some of these things I go, wow, this is great, and then the other things I say I hate to see that happening. But change is inevitable, And we just have to sort of ride with it. There's no reason to try to stop it. We need to be reasonable with what we do and look at the future. And I think Dana McClendon had a good comment. He said, this is a 100-year decision right here. This is going to affect people for a long, long time. And that's true, because those houses will be there. You know, you hate to say forever, but they'll be there for a long, long time.
Longer than anybody here right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's when you vote for something like that, you really need to think of how it will appear in 50 years from now, 60 years from now. And I see some things happening around town that I hate to see. Some older homes being torn down and big homes being crammed in places that I just personally think don't fit, but I'm not the one making that decision. And I just have to either don't go down that street or whatever, but just try to ignore it. I want to say a couple of quick things about things that we don't talk about much, and that's some websites. Zillow comes to mind. A lot of people are familiar with Zillow and with Redfin, a listing service that claims that they will cut fees and so forth and so on. Well, that may sound good, and I'm not going to dwell on that too much because we'll talk about that maybe next week. But be careful when somebody tries to offer you something. It's like somebody saying this is free. Well, if it's free, my first question is, how much is it going to cost me? So make sure you understand all those things. But the thing about Zillow that I wanted to mention real quick is that how much misinformation is on Zillow, and yet how many people tend to look and believe what they see in there. I was shocked just in the last few days looking on Zillow myself that I found LOY HARDCASTLE in there as a realtor. And shockingly, they had sales, for example, and listings under the Zillow headline. Had me down for no sales in the last year and no listings. Well, I hate to tell you, but that's pretty far from the truth. But yet you take someone that's looking online, and let's say they've seen my ad in the paper or heard us on radio or something. They say, well, let me look up old Hardcastle. So they go and say, well, this old guy hadn't sold anything in 12 months and has no listings. Well, I'm not going to use him. That's totally incorrect. And then another thing, Zillow can really evaluate your property either really high or really low. Don't trust that information that you see on Zillow. Now, it's easy to go to, I grant you, and a lot of information out there, big, beautiful website and so forth. But if you really want accurate information, you need to contact a realtor. I say contact me, but contact a realtor and let a realtor give you the accurate information for the area that you're looking for, whether it's Williamson County, Rutherford, Davidson, it doesn't matter. But get with a realtor and get the current, accurate information, both on pricing, what's available, who's doing what, who's busy, and all that sort of stuff. But I was really shocked and really disappointed that, and I'm trying to get my information corrected, but you know, that can damage your production if people think, well, this guy's not doing anything, so I won't go that route.
You didn't mention anger.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, it's true, but as you know, as you get older, things like that, you go, darn it, I need to fix it. But yeah, now 10, 15 years ago, I would have really been mad. But today I just go, well, I'm not surprised. Let me see if I can fix it. You know, so I go in there. But so be careful what sort of information that you believe. Watch where you get your information. So if it's real estate related, honestly, the best advice is to contact some real estate company and talk to a realtor that can give you accurate information. I am, of course, one of those people.
One that you know.
Contact someone and get accurate information. Anyway, I've got so many other things written down here, state work and concierge service and so forth. We'll talk about that next week. So I will say, in the meantime, go vote.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about real estate, buying or selling, or you just want information and accurate information, give me a call, LOY HARDCASTLE at Bob Parks Realty, 615-790-7400, or stop by our new office, which is behind Landmark booksellers. I'm gonna get Joel Tomlin to pay me for saying landmark booksellers, because we give him free plugs all the time. But anyway, that's where we are, in the new Harper Square building.
Right next door to the olive oil store.
Yeah, olive oil, that's right. And I don't mean Popeye's girlfriend either.
Yeah.
All right.
News is next from WAKM, Franklin, Tennessee, the hometown radio show coming up from Avenida.